Well, hello there, and welcome to episode 15 of Like Literarily. I am Alexis, or better known as Momo.
I'm Alicia.
I'm Riley.
Like
Literally.
And happy fall, happy spooky season, happy Halloween in a couple weeks. I love fall and Halloween, but I absolutely do not do scary books, horror movies, etc. So, first, I want to start this episode with saying thank you to all of our lovely Instagram followers for showing out and voting for a cozy book for this month's podcast. And that means we get all the vibes, the sweater weather, the leaves changing, everything pumpkin, apple cider, pumpkin patches. You get it. You can cozy on up in a blanket on the couch to read this book. So, what cozy book did we read this month, Riley?
This month, we read You Again by Kate Goldbeck, published in September 2023. It is a spin on When Harry Met Sally.
So I have to say, I did not realize that this book was actually fairly new. So around this time that we're recording this, it's like pretty much a year old now.
Yeah, so this is actually Kate Goldbeck's first published book. She was slash is a fanfic writer on her website. She's uncertain whether or not she's going to continue writing fanfic. So, anyway, Alexis, do you want to tell us a bit about You Again?
Yes, I can. And I just have to make a note. Do we like have a type of book? Why do we keep finding all these used to be possibly fanfic books? I think we have a type here, like literally.
I mean, it's probably just like a natural space to start like exploring writing because you have some development of like the world and characters.
That's true.
So I feel
Well,
like it's probably a natural progression.
that's valid. Well, with that, so since it's right up our alley, this will be a little vulgar towards the end, but I did pull this from the Book of the Month summary mixed with just like I think like a generic Google summary that came up. And also, of course, spoiler warning, as always, since you know that if you came here and you're listening to this, we're talking about the book that we read. So I'm going to go ahead and say You Again is all about a commitment phobe and a hopeless romantic that clash over and over again until heartbreak and unexpected chemistry bring them together in this clever enemies to friends to lovers debut romance. Ari and Josh never expect their paths to cross again after an awkward encounter in 2014. But years later, as they're both reeling from ego bruising breakups, a chance encounter leads them to a surprising connection, friendship. Turns out spending time with your former nemesis is fun when you're too sad to hate each other and too sad for hate sex. Essentially, as Riley put it and said it earlier, a When Harry Met Sally vibe, a movie that I will admit I have actually never seen, believe it or not.
Well, I knew Alicia definitely hadn't seen it because she doesn't watch movies.
Correct.
But I wasn't sure if you've seen it yet, Alexis. But it is a great movie. It has Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. If you don't know who Billy Crystal is, because we're not of that age group, he's better known as the voice of Mike Wazowski from Monsters, Inc. If you didn't
Mike
know that.
Wazowski.
Yep, Mike Wazowski. But with that, initial thoughts about this book. Overall, I liked it. I really don't have many strong feelings about it, if I'm going to be honest. I did consume it very quickly at like 1.7 times speed for my audiobook, and I just had it on the background one day at work. While reading, I did get some like Raylo fanfic vibes for sure, but not in like a bad way. Like it was fine. I think it wasn't like too in your face.
Who is Raylo?
Oh, you don't know who Raylo is? Alicia, you read all that Allie Hazelwood. I thought you would know. It's like Kylo Ren and Rey from Star Wars. There's like a huge thing I know on like fanfic websites for.
Why are people so obsessed with that? That's so. All right, moving on.
It's that enemy to lovers.
I guess so.
And that like ugly cute of Adam Driver. But anyway, but my biggest thought, honestly, about this whole book was that Alicia's really gonna like this one. So, Alicia, was I right?
I mean, I think this is the first time that I rated the book the highest out of us three if it wasn't a tie. Like, I am notoriously, I feel like, the lowest rater out of all of us. So I think it's a yes.
I'm a
And
genius.
you called it, you called it. Definitely in the like scaling out of our three ratings for this book. Yeah, I mean, spoiler, I gave it a 4.25. And like generally my rating scale is at 4. I will recommend it pretty like universally, being like, yeah, people would probably enjoy this. That's my 4. I don't know if that's a little depressing for how high a 4 rating can be, but that's where I draw the line. But like, I thoroughly enjoyed reading about Ari and Josh's relationship. And like, this book does the time jump thing, but rather than having constant flashbacks to understand where they are now, we step through their relationship in chronological order. And so we meet Ari and Josh the first time Ari and Josh meet each other. And then there's a flash forward to get us to like the quote unquote current step in time. And then that happens a handful of times until we spend like the majority of the book all within like about a year and a half span with some more time jumps, one or two at the end of it. But like I really enjoyed reading the book in this manner. You got some background as to who they were, how they knew each other, kind of a little bit more about why they interacted the way they interacted once they did kind of link up for that longer time period. This was the first time I think I read a book that chronologically went through the relationship in this manner. Um, now, yeah, I like that.
I also really like that. It was nice figuring out how the characters were like feeling about each other at the same time the characters were. I feel like we don't see that very often, and I don't know, I thought it was really well done, and I thought it made the story a little bit more interesting at the beginning to be like, what's going on here? You know what I mean?
Right, like it wasn't, oh, here's the love story, like kick off. Like you actually had like a third of the book to get through first where you're like, mm? Oh, this is gonna be some complicated background, ain't it?
Yeah, I did really enjoy the chronological order. I feel like that's very easy for my brain. And so the flashbacks that we see in other books and stuff like that were when the characters are almost telling the story as like a story that's already happened. It's not that I can't follow that, but I think because time moves chronologically, it was kind of nice to see from start to finish like how they move through different times in their life. I have more things to say about that, but the concept of time as a whole, I did like how we got to step into those different times like with them.
And the other thing I liked about the storytelling is I'm just a big fan of a dual point of view book. Um, this was a dual point of view book. We are going back and forth between Ari and Josh's perspectives, and that's just something I always appreciate uh, as well. One thing I don't always appreciate, however, is a miscommunication trope. And as we all know from our Emily Henry episode, I don't like this trope, don't like it at all. However, I felt like Ari was really the roadblock here, and because she and Josh are portrayed as really flawed characters, like they're both a little messed up. And that's not something that's like breezed over. It felt like this miscommunication was a lot more of an internal struggle for Ari than like an annoying trope in this context where you're like, why aren't they just talking to each other? But like Ari could not be honest with herself. So how could she even be honest with Josh about how she was feeling? And so I felt like one, this made sense with the character development that we saw in the book, or maybe the character background would be more accurate there, up until the point where she stopped having the miscommunication trope. But I appreciated this a little bit more because it felt more nuanced to her character rather than just like exasperated sighing the entire way through the book when I'm like, just talk. But what do you all think?
I thought it made it more palatable. Like miscommunication tropes are usually like, as you said, like, ugh, please just talk to each other. But I agree. Like just the way that her character was set up, it made sense, and because it made sense, it wasn't nearly as annoying.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, I feel like it really just fit who Josh and Ari were as people. Like, he was somebody who took things so seriously. And she kind of just never took anything seriously. So, of course, there was bound to be these huge miscommunication issues and misunderstandings because how they like not to get on my communication major soapbox, but like just because the way that you're saying something is how you like you just the way you think that it's going to be portrayed and received isn't actually how it could get received. So if she's taking things so non-seriously and he's taking things so seriously, she could make the funniest joke that everybody would get, but he would just take it so personally that it just fit them really really well. So I definitely agree that where it's not my favorite, it just made sense for them and like how they were as people throughout the whole book.
And so, since that was one dislike of mine, I will also hit one like for me personally before continuing around our round robin. But this is a romance book, which is honestly one of my favorite genres, and I think we can say that universally across like literarily, just based off of the books that we have been reviewing here on the podcast. But like the first kiss scene was written so well in this book. There was tension, the moment in the context of the background, just all was building. Kate had written like these moments of, oh, we could have stopped. And then it was like the first time, the second time, the third time. I thought it was written very well, that particular scene. But like the book at large, I also just really enjoyed Kate's writing style. So, like I said, I do think this is the first time I was the highest rating of a book that we've read out of the three of us. So, absolutely wild. So, I'm going to flip it over to Alexis, who I know had some differing opinions.
Yeah, so as Alicia said, for the most part, Riley and Alicia are like have mostly been known to be the ones with the more negative experiences. I don't want to say negative because I feel like that's just such a heavy
Maybe
word to
just a little
use.
bit more.
Right, like I didn't really know the right word to use when kind of like just jotting down notes for this episode. But I feel like maybe they're a little bit more critical, which also sounds kind of bad, but I feel like we
We're
all
also
just have.
like more willing to just like not like a book. You know what I mean? We're willing to say it. We're always like, I did not like this one, and that is okay.
Yeah, and if you guys follow me on Instagram, you know I will hate a book, but I will finish it because I want to be able to finish it. And if somebody tries to tell me, no, just finish it, you might actually like it. No, I did finish it and I hated it. So basically, just, how the tables turn, we all have different tastes here at Like Literarily. So this time I was the one that this book just entirely pissed me off the entire time I was reading it. I had just finished If We Were Villains, which wasn't bad. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. And I knew that I had to read this for the episode this month for October. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna like borrow it off Libby. I'm gonna do this. It just gave me a giant ick the whole time. Like at first I was like, okay, this is strange, but like I'll get past it. It's fine. And then it kind of picked up a little, then I kind of lost interest, and I kind of got back into it, and then I kind of lost interest. And so honestly, I feel like by the end, I literally was like, oh my gosh. I texted Alicia and Riley was like, I'm gonna have to borrow Riley's like ick segment because I hated it. So I gave it 3 stars simply because it was an easy read, as far as like the plot and the writing style. And like I said, it did kind of give me this feeling of hope that I would end up liking it about halfway, 3/4 way in, but no. So I'm just gonna go ahead and list out all the things that I did not like. And so the male main character, Josh, literal giant ick. His privilege, his forcefulness about relationships, his piss poor attitude, literally everything about him. And then how did he still manage to have like negative 10,000 character development? How did that happen? How do you go through like 10 years of your life and you go backwards in everything? Your attitude, pessimism, it's like how do you get like that many years into a relationship, realize that I was actually kind of bad for you, don't actually take any time to self-reflect on that, and then immediately want to go get into another relationship and like force yourself on somebody that you're supposed to be friends with? Literal, so gross. So gross. So that was my thoughts about Josh.
I feel like the like Adam Driver, Kylo Ren, like character issues that are like, people when people base their characters off of Kylo Ren / Adam Driver, there you go. That's a probably more direct way to say it. People like love or hate it. Like I did read the Goodreads reviews after I finished this book, and it was just so funny because some of them were like, I hate Kylo Ren fanfic. If I never want to read something like this. You tricked me, Kate Goldbeck. And then other people were like, I loved it. So I think that's fair. It's like one or the other.
Also, I didn't get any of those vibes from this book, but also that might be just because I'm not like in the Adam Driver, Kylo Ren community, I guess. So I did not know that that's what this book was. But that honestly just kind of annoys me even more. Then the female main character, which is Ari. So she gave me less of an ick. I genuinely liked her complexity as a character, but after so long, she just started to irritate me. Like girly pop. 10 years have passed. Why are you still having these problems? Girly, get a therapist, make better friends, learn how to cope. I don't know. Figure out something. Get a journal. Why? Why did you have barely any character development by the end of this book? It was more than Josh, though, so I'm gonna take it. But also, I think what really made me upset was like where we just kind of saw that, like, where is her whole personality? Like, I got nothing past the fact that she was bisexual and in like a big like polygamist, right? Did I say that word? Big into poly relationships. I'm gonna say that. And so, like, okay, there's nothing wrong with it. But we've talked in the past about seeing diversity in books. And, we all have agreed that Casey McQuiston does it extremely well, where you don't feel like that's the only thing that you know about the character that's emphasized. And I feel like that was Ari. I get it. You are bisexual. You like girls and boys. Cool. I don't care. Can we move past that? You literally have mentioned being a comedian 4 times in this book, but meanwhile, nothing happened with it. And then you keep getting fired from jobs because you're like in your 30s acting like you're 15. I'm confused. So, anyways, that was my feelings about her. And
I
then
forgot she got fired so much. That is a character flaw.
yeah, like I feel like if that was like her whole personality through like the first, 5 to 7 years of them like being enemies to friends or whatever, and that, because you're like in your 20s and your early 30s, that makes sense. Like that's like your time to self-discover. But at what point do you sit yourself down and go, okay, either I'm gonna take this comedian stuff seriously or I need to give that shit a rest? Like, it was just, I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me. Then the whole Josh's family thing, I don't know, they just kind of pissed me off too because they were like these random inputted like side characters and then they just had like no boundaries. And like I get that's probably not an unfair assessment of some people's families, but I don't know. Like for this trying to be like a cozy romance book, I didn't really need the theatrics, I guess. I don't know. And then her friends were okay, but all the relationships kind of gave me codependent.
Yeah, I had a note that like halfway through the book, I felt like Radia had really just been forgotten. Like part of the whole enemies to lover trope was this tension between Josh and Radia, and like that got brushed over for a much more extended period of time than I expected. The conflict wasn't quite as much conflict as I was expecting. Like that whole climax sequence was just a little disappointing. But I did really appreciate, as far as like going back to that miscommunication trope, Josh like accidentally texts his sister and then about Ari, and then at that point he just like full sends and like texts Radia as well at one point. And instead of like Radia not saying what's happened, she just like texts Ari like, yo, this man's asking about you. And I was like, thank you. Like that is what a friend is going to do. They're not going to be like, I'm not going to tell her for this man. Like I really appreciated the group texting and how that was portrayed throughout this book and just like how it was communicated outside of the virtual world. But that's a random rabbit hole.
Yeah, like I would text Alicia immediately if anybody texted me about her. Let's be real.
Seriously, that's an ick for me in other books.
Yeah, the texting was surprisingly done really well for this book. I usually don't love seeing like modern technology so emphasized, I guess, in books, but I did like that it played a large role in how we got to see everything kind of progress. But also just for the sake of time, and obviously I think all of you listening will understand the gist that I clearly just did not enjoy this book very much. Why was it so long? Why was it so long? It was so long. I literally was like, oh my gosh, we're only at like I'm at like 3, mind you, I read on my Kindle after trying to attempt the audiobook. And so Kindles are obviously usually like more pages anyways because it's in your Kindle. But why? Why was it so long? I was at page like 300 and was like, why? Why is there literally a whole other 100 pages after this? This is ridiculous.
I don't
But
think
yeah,
anything can top how unnecessarily long Lucy Score's books were for me.
agreed.
That like I didn't even clock. Like this one felt like it could have been like edited down like a little bit, but like having read those so recently, my bar for just like obnoxiously too long of a romance book right now is there.
Yeah, it started giving me like things we never got over vibes. Like I was like, things I'm never gonna get over how long this book is for no dang reason. That's me.
For me, I listened to this book at like 1.7 times speed, so I finished it in like less than a day. So I didn't notice, but I do usually listen to my books at 1.5 times speed, and this was 1.7 because it was kind of slow. So
Yeah, so just as like an overall, as we conclude, um, I'll go ahead and get mine over with since I had my little soapbox of why everything about this book was icky. I did give it out of 3 out of 5 stars. I did not find myself able to get into the audiobook, like I said. And so I ended up reading it on my Kindle, borrowed from Libby. So I don't necessarily not recommend it. Typically, if I give something 3 stars, my like rules for that, I guess, is if like other people enjoyed it, but I don't typically enjoy it, I'll give it like a 3. Because I don't want to, if the vast majority of people enjoy it and then like I'm the minority, I don't want to be like, screw this book, it was terrible. Because it might not have been. Maybe it wasn't for me. So, what about you, Alicia?
I gave it 4.25 stars, as I mentioned earlier. So I generally do recommend it to people who like romance. So we'll have Riley being the tiebreaker here in a moment. I felt like the characters were both flawed, but it was realistically complicated. Plus, it referenced folklore and paper rings, so like automatic approval. Duh. Riley, take it away.
I was like in the middle, so I don't think that's a tiebreaker necessarily. But I gave it like a 3.75. I enjoyed it. It was very consumable, but I don't have strong feelings about it. Like I don't think I'm going to think about it very often in the future. I do feel like I would recommend it to people who like Allie Hazelwood or are Raylove people, but I'm also not going to go out of my way to read another of her books if I'm going to be honest. And then as I said before, like I read the audiobook and I enjoyed it. It was slower than what I usually listen to, so I did up it to 1.7 instead of 1.5. But it was fine. And then that's pretty much it for me. But what are you guys reading now? I'm actually not reading anything. I'm in a little bit of a slump, so I need some inspiration.
I am reading Come As You Are, which is a woman's health and science book. I'm about halfway through that, and it's been enjoyable. I also just checked out The Do-Over, which is another short, fun romance book, I believe. So, and that's what's on my shelf currently. Alexis, how about you?
So I am currently in the race to finish reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Monday. About halfway through it. It is very, very slow.
Yes.
Not bad slow. Like I'm actually decently enjoying it. But after reading If We Were Villains, then this, You Again, and then The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I think my next step is to try to read Daisy Jones and the Six. Is that what it is by
I
Taylor Jenkins
love
Reid?
that book.
That's a
The
good book.
audio book is really good.
It's been sitting on my shelf, so I want to finally read it. And I figured that'd be a nice little palate cleanser after two heavier books and one that I just like didn't enjoy all that much. So yeah, that's my plans, I think.
Alrighty. Well, that concludes our episode 15. Next month, we're going to do something a little special, a little different for the girls that like literarily for the Thanksgiving holiday season. So Alicia, do you want to tell us what we're going to do?
We are each going to pick out a cookbook and a recipe from that cookbook, and we are going to follow it and make it and eat it. And then for our pod, we're going to talk about our thoughts on the cookbook, like how easy the recipe was to follow, what we thought just generally about the meal. Did we like that as well? So we're going to have a little cookbook review.
Yeah, and we're probably gonna deep dive a little maybe into like the history of cookbooks. We're not gonna make it boring, but maybe we'll do like fun facts and like trivia or something and share some of our favorite recipes from growing up and maybe some of the recipes that we enjoy making now. And maybe I'll cook a cake because my 30th birthday is in November and we will probably be recording around that time.
Yay, so exciting.
Yes, I think I'm the first of the crew here to turn the big 3-0.
Don't worry, I'm right behind you, Alexis.
You are right behind me. But yeah, so I think we're also gonna like share pictures, and if you guys make anything, you can tag us and all that good stuff.
Yeah, sounds like a good game plan. But yeah, we'll share them in our story if you send them to our way, you know? Alrighty, well, I think that wraps up this episode of Like Literarily. Okay, bye!
Bye.